Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 734 of FloWrestling Radio Live, super special edition. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined today. This is a record show. I think we have 5 total Hodge trophies on the show, not counting JD and I's. We've got Ben Askren, JD Raider, and Kyle Dake, David Taylor hopping on. First off, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you guys, and really appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So the reason you guys are on, recently came out, you guys started or are a part of an organization called Athletes for Medical Freedom. And we can get into what that is all about. But first, Kyle, can you talk a little bit about how this was formed and why?
So when we were in Oslo, we got an email leading into before we left. It was like the day before or the day we were leaving New York City. And it was like, hey, there's going to be this new policy where everyone's forced to be vaccinated. And I was like, oh, geez, this is a big problem for me specifically because I had a medical condition or have a medical condition. I had heart surgery in 2014. So for me, it was like a big problem. So I was like, well, I probably will be able to get a medical exemption. I also have a couple other things that go on that make it tough for me to get that. So talk to my doctor and try to figure it out in the past because I thought it might come down the pipe. And so I ended up sending a letter. Dave and I were roommates over there. So we were kind of talking about the way it was coming down. And we realized that it was just like important for us to focus on the World Championships because it was less than 7 days away. So we ended up kind of shelving it, but we did send a letter to the leadership at the USOPC and kind of ran it down that line. And then what we found was for the Olympic Games in Beijing, everyone was telling us, oh, we're going to have exemptions. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And come to find out that in Beijing, there's no religious exemptions whatsoever. Not to mention that some of the people in the organization applied for religious exemptions, they got denied. And we just recently, maybe a month ago, got notified that, we just happened to be on the Olympic list, the Olympic team member list for the Winter Olympics. It just goes out to all the athletes. And what they said was that Beijing Olympic Committee was going to have the final say as to whether or not you would qualify with a medical exemption. And it was just like, well, I'm going to train for all these years and I'm going to get approved for a medical exemption. Then all of a sudden they're going to be able to take it away at the 11th hour. So, that's a big, big reason why I wanted to be a part of it, was to be like, hey, like, this isn't fair. This isn't fair to all the athletes who have put in the work to get there. And that's just that's just USOPC and IOC policy. And, we have some strong leadership that can make a difference. When we started it, we've had a lot of people reach out to us, fellow Olympians, people and across different sports who have been like, hey, so what have you guys been doing? How can I help? So it's been kind of cool. And that was a big reason we wanted to start it, because we didn't know how to get into contact with those people. So that's kind of why on my end, why I wanted to start it. And then just talking with Dave and Thomas and a handful, like everyone who signed, basically came out with the press release with us. We've all been in contact and trying to figure out what's the best way to approach this. And we decided that a unified front would be best, because, it's just, you got to connect with people. You got to have a tribe. You got to have people who are willing to stand next to you in the fight like this.
Yeah. David, what is your understanding of the potential ramifications for wrestlers or athletes that don't get vaccinated? And can this extend to the world team and other competitions?
I mean, the difficult thing about, taking a stance like that, we've taken, but about this whole situation is it changes. So, what today is could be different tomorrow, could be done the next day. So I think for Kyle, and I and Thomas and the rest of the group, we're seeing like down the road. Like, I think a lot of people short term are like, well, we'll just follow our exemption. Well, we just rewind back. So we had the Summer Olympics. There was 11,000 athletes this summer. There's 1,200 in the Winter Olympics. So in the Summer Olympics, it would have been hard to like trying to push this through from the USOPC standpoint. Yet through the Summer Olympics, now they're like, wow, this is 10% of the athletes. We'll just kind of push it through. And most people are like, man, I've competed my whole life. They're doing total on their end. Just get it and go compete or file your exemption. Well, now, there's multiple exemption processes through the USOPC. They have like an approved exemption process. If you get through that, then it was the Beijing. And then now, basically, I think the Olympics are 40 days away. And now they're saying that the Beijing is going to have final say on exemptions. So, I mean, that's just kind of obviously they're trying to see what's going to work right now, what kind of pushback there's going to be to see what kind of, obviously what's going to look like in 2024 in Paris. So I really think that the organizations are going to have a big say in it, and they haven't determined necessarily what their plans are down the road. We've been working with USA Wrestling, and they have been, they're advocating, on our behalf to the USOPC, and obviously to the UWW, to the IOC, and those things. Obviously the athletes have a strong voice. We just want to make it clear that we don't believe in mandated medical treatment. We want to continue to train, we want to continue to compete, let our voice be known, and then they can kind of then speak on our behalf, obviously in those higher meetings. So ultimately it's going to be, each organization is going to make the rules, and then obviously we're going to have to see what that is. But if we just sit back and don't say anything, then they can just make the rules, freely. But if we speak up, make our voice be known, let us know how we feel, I think our voice is powerful because you have both people that have the COVID vaccine and those that do not have the COVID vaccine, both that don't believe that they want to continue to get more of them down the road. It's like, okay, well, we didn't believe in the first one or the second one or the third one. Some people got the first one, don't want the second or third, or they've gotten two. So that the idea of fully vaccinated is continuing to change as time goes on, and people don't want to continue to get these COVID vaccines because from an athlete perspective, there's not a lot of evidence that it's saying it's increasing your performance. It's making it better. You're going to wrestle. You're going to compete no matter what, because it's not preventing people from getting COVID. And it's being people are getting it, whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated. So to answer your question, like, it's hard to say down the road. It's a day by day, it's a step by step process. But as time goes on and momentum, as we continue to gain momentum, more and more athletes are reaching out to us, from their different organizations, and we just want to let people know they're not alone. There's other people, highly credentialed people that are going through the same thing, and just let people know that, we have a place that we can advocate for each other.
So, hey, I guess the first question I thought when I saw this, was first of all, good job, guys. Great work. But second, like, you look at that list of names and you're kind of like, holy crap, this is, as far as wrestling is concerned, this is the who's who. So kind of goes in two parts. Is number one, the second you guys put that up, did you guys hear from USA Wrestling? And if so, what was that response? And then number two would be, obviously, how widespread has it been? Because I think when you put the initial list up, it was, let's say, 90% wrestling. It was really, really strongly wrestling based. Has the response been strong from other sports? And is it growing?
I just think there's a lot of people that are still going to wait and see. Like, we still have, we have peers that I think that are still going to wait and see and kind of see what the reaction is from the community. I think, some people are afraid, just like their brand, how's it going to affect that moving forward? Like, are people, like, okay, if you come out and say you don't have the COVID vaccine, our sponsor's going to make decisions one way or the other, So I think across all sports, there's definitely a lot more people than, what one would think. But they're still trying to like figure out, like, am I going to go the exemption route? Do I want to kind of come out and say that I don't have the COVID vaccine, or however it may be, or do I believe in medical treatment? So I think a lot of people are still but it has spread across, handful of different sports, obviously in the wrestling community alone. We've been reached out to. Kyle has been running more point on those things. But I think in terms of, and then with USA Wrestling, we have been in communication since that day. It was crazy. I remember it was Kyle and I, we were we're roommates and everywhere we go. And that email came through, and instantly we were like, wow, this is pretty serious, and everyone was trying to tell us like, oh, just wrestle world championships and you'll figure it out later. I'm like, the way it came out was that email came out, and then there was like a Zoom call like 2 days later. They're like, oh, voice your concerns in the Zoom call. And that was like 2 days before we were going to compete at the world championships. And it was obviously very concerning for Kyle and I, understanding like, okay, well, that we understood like where this was going down the road. So there were, some athletes back home that jumped on that Zoom call and voiced, kind of like their concerns about different things. And we'd been in communication with USA Wrestling instantly. We had CC'd them on our email to the USO, the USO PC when we emailed everybody, our original email. And then obviously just in, you sign a national team contract every single year. So there was a group of us that had not signed a national team contract based on, what was written in there in these guidelines. So, we have and can have continued to be in communication with them, along this process. And I believe that, they're working to see, obviously what they can do to make everybody feel welcome, at events moving forward.
We've had some athletes across sports reach out to us. We've had basketball, we've had track and field, we've had swimming, we've had what was that? There's a couple other, those are high level athletes who have reached out to us. I can't count the number of high school and college athletes that reached out to us. One of the funny things is that, normally if I post a story, I'll get between like 40 and 60,000 views on my story. Well, when I was posting these, I got like 5,000 views, 6,000 views on the story. And I got over 1,000 shares. And normally I only get like maybe 100 shares, usually less. So I feel like I don't really know how many people we've come in contact to, or if we have, how much of an impact we've had. But I know that the word's getting out there because I'm getting messages pretty much every single day, asking like, hey, how can we get involved? How can we help? What do we do? And we're working on more things that athletes can do to help us. There's holiday season made it a little bit tough, but just trying to get things done and get people organized. But we're heading in the right direction, and we're getting more and more people to be involved. And so it's not just the people that you saw on the original press release.
Nice.
So one question I have, and it's kind of a worst case thing, which is not really a ideal place to dwell, but if it comes down to it and they say, hey, no, there's no worlds, there's no Olympics without getting the vaccine, what decision would you guys make? A peace sign from Kyle Dake.
I mean, you don't want to, you don't want to think about that. So we have talked about it. I mean, Dave and I have talked about it several times. Like, well, what are we going to do? And, Dave kind of set himself up with his club and his companies and stuff like that, but he still wants to compete. I still want to compete. There's things that I can do outside of wrestling that eventually I want to do, but not while I'm in the best shape of my life. And I feel like I'm in the peak of my career. There's people that have strong conviction, and it's hard to say that because now you're going to have some of our competitors who are like, all right, well, if we can get them out of there, let's see if we can push the other way. And it's unfortunate that it is that way. Fortunately, we have a lot of data on our side, and a lot of people who are pushing the same direction as us. The CDC just changed its guidelines from 10-day quarantine to 5-day quarantine. And, now we're seeing that vaccinated people can get it and transmit it. Big thing for me is that I've been keeping my eyes pretty close to this whole situation because I was like, well, are they going to cancel Tokyo? And, what's that going to look like? And, ultimately they made it happen. And with all of these, massive bowl games for the NCAA, and then you have NBA stadiums are sold out, NFL stadiums are sold out. It's happening. Like, people are going out and living their lives. It's just, now there's people who are a little bit power hungry that want to hold on to this control. And, they feel like they feel like, and this is where I'm coming from. These people think that they're doing the best they can possibly do, and everyone's just based on their own experience. So I had COVID, wasn't that bad, but I'm young and pretty healthy. There's some people who've had COVID and it's been pretty bad for them, and they're young and healthy. They're not healthy, but they're young, and they're in good shape. They got a lot of muscles and not very fat, but they've had a really bad experience with it. And that for me, that gives me some personal gratification, not because they're injured, but because of the things that I've done in my lifetime. It's like, wow, I did the right things. I'm taking necessary steps to where if I were to come down with something, I'd be able to battle it pretty easily. And it's just, I feel like we are moving in the direction of, okay, this is very similar to the flu or common cold, at least now. And unless you're really, really sick, you can probably live your life pretty normally. And the measures that were taken don't seem to have that much of an impact if we look across. If we look at the data from people who made different accommodations, full lockdowns versus no lockdowns versus partial lockdowns versus mandatory masks versus vaccine passports, all of these things, their curve is pretty much the same. Depending on their season, their curve is pretty much the same. So I feel like we're moving in the positive direction. So I'm hopeful that I'm not going to have to retire at the end of the day.
Good. David, when I said, hey, Dake and Taylor are coming on to talk about this, a lot of my questions were about, well, what do they say about vaccines in general? These guys have probably been vaccinated to go to college. What do they think about the vaccines for other people who are maybe at risk with COVID? What are your thoughts on vaccines at large?
I think I think when talking about the COVID vaccine, like, I think it's such there's definitely a population that it's advantageous for them to get it, and my feel is just choice. That's the whole thing, that our athlete's medical freedom, whether you're an athlete or not an athlete, it's just choice in what do you want to do for your treatment. If you feel like, man, I want to get the COVID vaccine and I want to go live my life and I'm going to live it normal after that, get it. Please go get it. Move forward. Your life is easier getting the COVID vaccine, for sure. You get it, and you can go eat, you can go do whatever there may be. But, like, when it comes to, for me, even my stance for the COVID vaccine prior to the Olympics, we had meetings, we had people, we had a lot of advice, and like Kyle and I, we talked about this a lot. And even back then, so the success that I've had over the last 5 years was about redefining the way that I approached my training, my recovery, and more importantly, my nutrition. There's not a single time that I grab a protein bar and eat it without grabbing it off the store in the shelf, looking on the label and seeing, if it has artificial sweeteners, not doing it. If it has, corn syrup, if it has rice flour, if it has all these different things that I don't put in my body, if it has, I'm not doing it. So when it comes to, I'm 6 months before the Olympic Games. I've been training my whole life. I'm in a great chance to win a gold medal based on my preparation I have. And all of a sudden there's been this vaccine that's been created pretty much really fast. And we don't know what's in it. And it's a lot, there's things in it that could be against the way that I believe that should be in my body. And I wasn't afraid of getting COVID leading up to the Olympic Games. I felt like I'm doing all the right things. And I was willing to take that risk. It was a conversation that my wife and I had, and it was like, okay, well, do I get the shot, or am I willing to do more about what I believe in, and be willing to not wrestle in the Olympics? And we made that decision, as a group. And then moving forward, we've made that same decision, and it's not about, like, I'm really happy with my career. There's nothing more that I can achieve. I've won everything in the sport of wrestling that I could win. I want to continue to do that. By no means do I want to not continue to do that. But it's not only about what we're going through, it's about the next generation of athletes. Where does it end? My concern is, like, these goalposts just keep moving. And I just don't believe that as athletes, and I'm coming from an athlete perspective, right now. And as athletes, like you're the healthiest population. Again, if you want to get it, get it. But you shouldn't be required to get it to go to your local wrestling practice, to go to your local lacrosse game, to go to your, your local soccer game, or and even as a young kid, and then moving forward to the sports the rest of your life. I just don't believe that should be a required thing. I think that's a discussion that each person should be able to have individually, and then figure out, what's best for them.
Kyle,
yeah,
go ahead.
I just want to add, a lot of times when you get a childhood vaccine, or you get any of those vaccines in general, you never worry about it again. You never worry about it. And that's what everyone does. They listen to their doctor and they're like, oh, okay, this is the best decision for me. And they make the choice, whatever it is. And they're like, okay, I'm going to get this, I'm not going to get this, but this is a decision that I've made that is informed. I have informed consent from my doctor. They provided me all the information, and I'm going to move forward with it. And people are always like, well, you couldn't get into college unless you had all these things. And people must not have read the college applications very closely, because you can definitely get in without being vaccinated. It happens all the time. And like, well, yeah, because of this and this. It's like, no, you just didn't read it, and you're trying to fit me into your narrative. And there's a huge difference between what those vaccines are and what the current vaccine that we're giving is. And it's a completely new technology. There's no long-term safety studies on it. There will be no long-term safety studies on it, at least not from Pfizer or Moderna, because they've already unmasked the placebo population. Plus, they've made it so that it's very, there's no way for me to know, okay, this was actually caused by the vaccine or it wasn't caused by the vaccine. And now all these people are getting the same exact shot that they got 6 months ago, a year ago. And they're like, oh, it's going to be a booster. Well, what happens? Well, it just increases your antibodies so that for the 2 or 3 months after that you get it, you have some protection, but then it's waning very much after that. So that's a big difference for me, is like, okay, if you get measles, well, you had measles and you're probably good for the rest of your life. There's obviously cases where that doesn't occur, but people trying to compare it to older vaccines are very narrow-minded and not looking at the larger picture.
Yeah. Kyle, my question for you, as sort of the guy running point here, what percentage of the athletes or wrestlers specifically would you say are not vaccinated that are a part of the group?
Percentage of people that are a part of the group that aren't vaccinated?
Yeah.
Well, I just think like right there, like that question, I mean, what happened to just your privacy and what you believe? Like I feel like as an athlete, I can come out confidently and say, hey, I have not had the COVID vaccine. I don't want it. I'm not getting it. Kyle can say the same. But there's that's part of the problem that we're at. People are afraid to say what they feel because they don't know what the ramifications are going to be from their families. I mean, we just had people all through the holidays to say, don't gather with your families, don't do these things, don't live your life, don't do this, don't do that, whatever it may be. So people are like, I'm kind of afraid to say what my stance is, and if right now my mom and I go to the doctor and I get an MRI, and my mom and dad want to say, hey, what's wrong with David's knee? They're like, oh, I can't tell you. HIPAA, can't tell you. But you go in for every single possible thing you do, and everyone's asking if it's public. You're looking for like reassurance that you're doing the right thing by getting the COVID vaccine. It's like talked about all the time, and I feel like it's such a sensitive subject. So I don't really feel, I don't know what Kyle thinks. I don't really feel like it's the right thing to say, like what part of the group is or isn't. I can just confidently say that we have people that have and have not had it. But ultimately moving forward, the group is just like, we just believe that should be our choice. There's some people in the group that will probably continue to get vaccinated. And there's some people in the group that aren't going to, and there's some people in the group that aren't, and they eventually get it because their conviction is maybe not as strong as some of the others, but they just ultimately believe that there should be a choice, and I just think that's the premise of what we stand for.
Yeah, I don't disagree that there should be a choice. I don't disagree with privacy. The reason I asked the question is I'm curious for what could the wrestling landscape look like or change if things go totally restrictive on the USOPC, IOC side? How differently could our teams potentially look without I don't want the name you guys to name names other than what you're comfortable yourself personally divulging. I'm just looking for, hey, I don't know the status of athletes.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Christian, if you just look at the list they put out, that encompasses four different world champions, maybe five. I'll just
right,
but
the list. And Ben, that's not a vaccinated, unvaccinated list. That's just a list of people that are
fair enough
supporting Kyle and David's group. That's why I wanted to know.
There's a good amount of people who are looking at this and like, okay, I got vaccinated and I'm probably not going to do it in the future. They're just going to keep changing the goalposts. Maybe I had a negative reaction to the first one or the second one or the third one or the fourth one, whatever that is. They're really, at the end of the day, it is about, hey, I'm responsible for my body. I'm responsible for everything that goes in it. I mean, we hear it from USADA every quarter when we have to take our updated whereabouts video, whatever it is. Like, hey, you're responsible for everything that goes in your body. And we get an email probably every other day about reminding us about it. So taking that to heart is like, hey, I'm responsible for everything that happens to me, good or bad. And that's just the way I'm trying to advocate for people is like, hey, you're responsible. Your choice. You do this. You decide. And people are like, well, it affects everyone else. And like, yeah, but it doesn't stop you from transmitting it to someone else. There are good and bad outcomes, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. And that's the problem. If it was 100% effective, which they said it was, then it would be a different story. And there was no negative outcomes, had long-term safety studies, but every single product that they put out there is like, oh, this person had this reaction. This person had this reaction.
I mean, I think so. I'm not going to step on your toes here, but I think if they could just prove that it stopped transmission, they would have a great argument. But they can't prove that, right? And like we're seeing with these hockey teams, which are 100% vaccinated, and literally the whole team has it where they're shutting down games. They're gonna have a hard time making the argument that vaccines stop transmission, because how are these fully vaccinated teams all getting it then?
Well, I mean, it's just crazy, and that's where in comparison to like the vaccines in the past, there was a lot of time put into them, and those diseases were essentially eradicated. Once they came out. So where this one, it's like, I mean, in the NFL I follow the NFL very close. Anyone that follows me, I love fantasy football.
You love fantasy football way too much, David. You need to talk about some fantasy wrestling a little more often.
I'm okay, fine. I'm good to get into that discussion. I want the guys to get when you're talking about fantasy football, I mean, I love it. I follow it year round. I'm ear to the ground all the time, and like last year there was no vaccine. I think there was total to this day, to this point, I think there were 200 positive cases. This year, there's a vaccine pushing on everybody. And there's been over double. I mean, games are getting canceled. And I know for a fact, because of the situation that we were in for the Olympic Games, people were said to these athletes, okay, get this, you won't get COVID. So they got it. Well, then down the road, it's like, well, if you haven't got it, get it because it'll lessen your symptoms. All right, they got it. Get it because you won't give it to somebody else. Okay, we got it. Get it because you don't have to wear a mask. Okay, well, get it because we won't cancel your games. Well, now all those things have happened. Cases are higher. So the more that people are vaccinated, the more that masks are put on people, the cases are still increasing. So it's just like, that's the biggest thing about it. That's tough, from an athlete's perspective, is it's not preventing transmission. And I think, I don't know, I can't speak for other people, but even personally, like if at least one person that's gotten one of the vaccines has had an adverse reaction, it's hard to say, okay, as an athlete, as a competitor, I believe of all the things that I do, it gives me a 1% margin over my competition. It's very slim at the highest level, very slim. Mm-hmm. And by getting the COVID vaccine, because there are side effects, what if I'm one of the people that have the side effects and I've lost that 1% margin? And that to me right there is in the premise of like, man, it doesn't make sense for me. And that's where everyone can make their own decision. But I know people that have gotten the shot and had strokes. I know people have gotten the shot, had Bell's palsy. I know people have gotten the shot and got really sick for months, and like that alone, even knowing one of those people really puts a lot of doubt in my mind from an athlete perspective that I could potentially lose that 1% margin if I'm one of the people that has one of those side effects, when I feel like I could fight off COVID because of all the health things that I do. I think that's kind of where the stance comes. And I think that's where every single person needs to gather all that information and just make the decision. I'm not telling people to get it or to not get it. I'm just saying, look in your research, make your decision, and then make your decision if you feel like it's good or bad for you. Not good or bad is probably not the right thing. If it's the right decision moving forward.
Do you guys think that, you're talking about the NHL, the NFL, I mean, it's the number one topic in sports is the games getting moved and changed and athletes being in and out because of positive COVID tests. Do you think that and with the high vaccination rates, do you think that's actually a benefit to your guys' cause? And is it going to create some momentum for you guys to where these organizations will say, hey, we can't mandate this because look what's happening. It doesn't make sense. Or do you think it's not going to be beneficial? And Kyle, you can take that one.
I mean, I think it is beneficial, but it's only beneficial if people talk about it. So we have news media that aren't willing to bring it up, and they're not willing to say, hey, this league is 95 to 100, to 100% vaccinated. There's only one player in the NHL who's not vaccinated, and they're still getting it and having to cancel games. What's going on here? Like, can you tell us, NHL commissioner, whoever it is, what is going on? And those questions aren't being asked, because if they are whether it be from the network, from the top down, whether it be from the league organization saying we're not accepting these questions, whatever it is, but that information needs to get out there. I mean, just recently LeBron came out with an Instagram with all the Spider-Men pointing at each other, and it was like cold, flu, COVID, and it was just like, okay, more and more people are starting to ask questions, which is good, and I think it's beneficial for us. And I think, like I said, I'm confident that it's moving in the right direction. Biden just came out and said that there's nothing you can do on a federal level. It's going to be up to the state in order to deal with the pandemic. So, he's kind of pushing blame a little bit, in my opinion. But regardless, I feel like we're headed in the right direction, and I'm glad that we can kind of stand up with other athletes and hold the line.
Yeah, that was going to be kind of one of my last questions is where do you see the fight currently right now? What are the next big steps for this, David, in terms of you guys making progress towards this, and what will that fight look like, I guess?
I just think it's continuing to gather information. We just continue to see, waiting and seeing not waiting and seeing based on what are these leagues. I feel like these leagues are the best sample study. The NHL, based on where we are as professional athletes, the NHL, the NBA, and the NFL, and following, how they're navigating, because they're going to set a lot of precedents. They all have players unions, which is nice, right? They can say, man, this doesn't really make sense for us anymore. Why are we why are we, testing positives and we're asymptomatic and we're fully vaccinated, but we're not playing games? We want to play. They need to play games to get their paychecks, So I think that it's important to continue to see what they're doing. And I think it's important for us to continue to continue to just, as hard as it may be, and is to continue to speak up about what's happening. And I think there's more and more people that are speaking up that aren't afraid. At one time, like they were like, we can't really say anything, so we're not really sure how people are going to react to what we believe in. And unfortunately, that's kind of like where we are right now. But we just have to continue to just move forward, just like anything else, right? I mean, I think just to say, hey, we put an Instagram post out, this is what we believe, and then 6 months later, touch base on it again. Things are going to change very fast and very rapidly. And I do think a lot of people are tired of feeling like they were misled. And I think a lot of people are tired of feeling like, man, I feel like, why are we still being held back for something? I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a virologist. I'm not a cardiologist. I'm not any of those things. I'm an athlete. And I think a lot of people say that. They're like, well, stick to wrestling. You know, you're not knowing anything about any of these things. You're right. But all I can do is just gather as much information as anyone else can. I'm not trying to advise someone to do something one way or the other, but I'm definitely advocating on my behalf to move forward as I want to continue my competitive career. And again, like I said, advocating for the athletes that are coming after me, for my daughters coming after me, you know, so they're not stuck, you know, having all these rules just so they can go to school, you know, where they're wearing masks at 2 years old just to go to school, you know. So I'm not trying to get on a tangent in one way or the other, but it's not just about what we're doing right now. It's about moving forward in our society. And I believe in just standing up for what I believe is right.
I think from a specific standpoint, you know, we're hopeful that USA Wrestling advocates for us to the USOPC. Rich Bender, he's on the USOPC board, has influence there. And, you know, we have obviously our athlete advisory council from on USA side, and then also USA Wrestling side, also on the USOPC side. So gathering information from them, they've been great for us. And then we also have plenty of influence on UWW. You know, we have pieces in place to make sure that not just USA, but every athlete has their rights and their opinions heard. And then finally, you know, running up to the IOC, you know, again, wrestling has some good advocates there. So for us, it's really just trying to make sure that those people know what we want. You know, a lot of the AAC members that we spoke to said that this came down the pipe. It came from one person, and they didn't get any say. They didn't get to talk about any of the policies, procedures. When I've asked who is in charge of making these decisions, it's always ambiguous. They give me titles of people and no names associated with it. They're changing all the time. People are stepping down, moving around, and it's just a cluster a little bit. So, but again, I'm very hopeful that we're taking the proper steps to move forward, like David was saying, and to get to a place where everyone can confidently compete and not worry about having, you know, an advantage or a disadvantage. You know, one of the final thing I'll say is, you know, there's supposed to be a wrestling camp, national team camp in Colorado Springs, and that's a USOPC facility. And we were going to have to fly out 5 days early, pay for our room, pay for our testing, get tested every single day that we were there, go an hour early to practice, sit in an office while our test came back. And then we would be able to practice. And if that's the mode they're going to go with for the Olympic team trials, that's just unacceptable. Think about having to put all these other obstacles in front of people, and that's a huge competitive advantage to not go through those things. You know, not waste that time where I could have my feet up recovering, whether I be in, you know, compression boots or just relaxing. You know, not having to worry about those things. So I'm hopeful that we can, you know, there's just a level playing field for everyone, and there's not special circumstances for certain individuals.
I want to thank you guys for coming on. Really, really appreciative of your time. Want to give you the last word. If there's anything I didn't, where the conversation didn't go that you wanted to go, anything else before we let you guys go?
Not that I can think of.
No, I appreciate you guys having us on.
Absolutely.
Good talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, David and Kyle. Obviously, as a wrestling fan, I just want to watch you guys wrestle again, and we hope that the rules don't prohibit that from happening. And I think you guys are probably taking the right steps to make that happen. So thanks again for coming on. Merry Christmas, and see you guys down the line. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, JD, quit talking so much, buddy.
Yeah, JD.
You got it.
JD's shy. That's the last couple of shows. We had JB on the last show. I think it was like 40 minutes in before JD got his first word in.
JD.
But he's about to get him in now. He's about to get to chat.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I didn't realize how bad I'm beating you dudes in the picks.
Hold on. I think
I'm giving you guys the beat down. I'm crushing it.
All right. I'm out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
David. So I don't think you're actually beating me that way, but we have a lot to get to. JD's gonna get his words in here because we got to talk about collegiate duels. We got to talk about scuffle. We got to talk about Powerade. The Midlands got canceled for crying out loud.
And then they're holding the tri-duel. Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense. They're going to play a basketball game in Welsh Ryan on the 29th. It all makes sense. This is just.
Are they really?
Hey, here's
the really having a basketball game.
Yeah.
How much 29th. Attendance? How much attendance?
I don't know. I don't think it's limited. Whatever. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to want to watch Northwestern versus they're playing some like Prairie View type of school,
okay.
But
right. Got it.
Yeah, maybe they pack it to the Raptors. That would be safe. I'm led to believe.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to go. I think we have to first. We haven't had a show since Iowa wrestled NC State and Arizona State wrestled Penn State. Feels topical. And Ben, I think I just want to kick it to you for your overall thoughts on those. Maybe start with one of the teams, and then we can just kind of go from there.
Yeah, we obviously talked after the first day, so we're not going to recap any of the first day one stuff. Day two, so day two is only the pool placement matches, so 3 versus 3, 2 versus 2, 1 versus 1 in each pool. I wish we would have talked Wednesday because I think it would have been a little more fresh. There wasn't really the 5th and 3rd place matches, kind of whatever. Mizzou killed Lehigh, and there just weren't any really good matches. Iowa, NC State, and Penn State, Arizona were a lot of fun. Iowa, NC State being more fun. Penn State, Arizona State, I want to say was over once. Bartlett beat Parco. I know that Arizona State won the next 2 matches and the duel was close, but you kind of knew that Penn State was going to hammer it home in the last 4 weights. And then it was really disappointing that the Arizona State didn't send out Colton Schultz at heavyweight. So yeah, I think we should run through the best duel, which was Iowa, NC State. That duel was a lot of fun. Let's talk about that. Insane.
Absolutely insane duel. And it starts at 125 where, it's for the weekend. I was like, will Spencer wrestle this one? Will he wrestle that one? And you knew NC State, and it wound up being true. They would probably need Spencer. There's a good chance that they would need Spencer's points because their backup is not beating Jacob Camacho.
Correct.
So he beats the way I like to look at Spencer's weekend. It was kind of like remind me of like kind of what his NCAA bracket's going to look like.
Yeah,
it's going to be like. Berglund's probably like a good proxy for a first round matchup for Spencer. And then Jarrett Lane is like kind of a likely sort of second round of 16. And Camacho is a likely quarterfinal matchup. And we kind of saw is like there's Tech major decision, which I think is a little notable when we're talking about the team race. And we're talking about Iowa versus Penn State and the bonus point factor. So for me, I think Spencer showed he's always going to be really, really hard to score on, and he's going to be really, really tough to get away from. Yes. I think we saw that.
And tough to ride. I think it's relevant that he's also really hard to ride. It's not an easy ride.
True. I actually thought Camacho did a good job for a little bit on top there.
A little bit, but it was. Was it 30 seconds ish? Maybe
30 seconds. 30 seconds. He might have had a breakdown. But Spencer got away kind of no problem. But I think. It's just I wonder if for Spencer, when you're a guy who basically, regardless of opponent, you probably think you're going to be able to tech this guy in about 5 minutes or so, knowing that you're limited, you go into it knowing, all right, I'm going to need to be a little more controlled, 7 minutes, and do you like adjust your tactics a little bit differently and not feel like this pressure to be scoring 10 points in the first 45 seconds like you've done so routinely. Yeah. And he's just got to win a little bit differently, I think, than he has in the past. And I think we kind of saw that in the Camacho match. Like he was able to get in on shots, he was able to get to his high crotch, and he was able to ride. And really Camacho didn't give himself many chances to score in that, which I think speaks to Spencer's still pretty really high level of defense.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously, and, scrambles against Lane. Lane was doing some really good things. And Camacho was going after him. Spencer's is so hard to score on, but then also, you think of the semis is going to be some mix of Vito, who looked great, Soriano, who we haven't seen, but we got to imagine he's going to be high level, and Courtney's looked really good. I don't know, and I'm actually really excited for Courtney versus Soriano. That's coming up live on Flow next week.
January 3rd, baby.
That duel, actually, I don't want to get this straight. That duel has a lot of really cool matchups, like Paris, Colton Schultz. I'm kind of excited for that one also. Anyways, back to the topic. His semis and finals are going to be really hard matches, and man, it's going to be so tough if he's really limited it offensively, because I feel like, I remember exactly what he said about the NCAA last year, but something like his forward and backward. I can't remember if it was his forward and backward or lateral, but he kind of like moves strange because of his knees, right? You notice that with Spencer? Yeah. And I just feel like that's going to be really tough to get over versus one of those other three that I mentioned.
Yeah, and I wonder if his top is or would be limited at all. Is he be able to drive some of those bars over, drive to the tilts like he has in the past? He was thus far. Is he be able to do that against the best of the best is what, we're going to be wondering about probably till Big Tens.
Because now we're not going to see him at all. I mean, we were hopefully going to get a good match or two at Midlands, and now I believe Iowa's going to the Hawkeye Open, which is, I don't think is there anyone else good there?
Well, it says Arizona State, but are they really sending their squad?
Maybe backups for that one.
Yeah.
So that's really unfortunate, because we were hoping to see a lot of the Iowa guys, against some of the other best guys at the Midlands, and now we're just not going to see that.
Yes. So Spencer 6'1". I mean, he's doing the job.
Yeah.
And another question is just like, how much better is he ever going to look than this for this season?
Unfortunate.
Right? Like he could he get his shape better? Maybe, I don't know, because I don't know how long he's been like fully back on the mat, but will his mobility change that much? I don't know.
It seems like the answer to that is, I don't want to say the answer is no, but you're right. If you suffer these injuries now, what is 10 months ago, right, in the Big Ten tournament, it seems like it's not really going to get much better, right? We have 2.5 months left of the season, and he's at 10 months to recover. I don't say what's the difference between 12 and 10. It can't be that much. So that's unfortunate. You want to move that? So 133, I actually thought Oreen could have been disqualified. He was doing some outstanding stalling. Listen, he was kind of trying hard. The NC State dudes, they wrestle hard. They really do.
They do.
But DeSanto was wrestling harder, and Oreen was really retreating.
DeSanto also at certain times was doing the classic Iowa thing that you hate, Ben, of just like sprinting at him, trying to get him to step out. Obviously, just forcing him to step out.
Yeah.
It's crazy that he can literally run at the guy, because for guys like Oreen and other guys that are not quite DeSanto's level, if they shoot, he just spins behind so easy. So he can just run at them indiscriminately with like no risk, because he's just like somehow no risk. I actually thought DeSanto, maybe if there's an MVP award other than Spencer just for wrestling, it may be him for the Hawkeyes this weekend.
We're talking about just for the Hawkeyes, or are we talking about kind of overall?
Hawkeye MVP.
Hawkeye MVP.
In the Monday practice when Tom gives out his MVP award that I just made up.
I'd say
I think it would go to Santo.
Yeah, or I could give it to Warner, because he kind of came up clutch for him, because you were kind of nervous going into 197. A little bit, weren't you? And then Warner pulled through.
So the reason this duel got super dramatic is a few reasons. One, Jay Nyman, not only did he not bonus Ryan,
was he pinned?
I mean,
hold on, let's rewind before the last. Hold on, Ryan Jack kind of shut down. I don't think Ryan Jack's a dude that usually gasses, but he was winning. I don't want to say not winning easy, but he was winning clearly going into the third period. It was very evident. And then he gave up 2 takedowns in the third period.
So Jay Nyman had a wild tournament as a whole.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ryan Jack gives up 2 takedowns. in the third period to lose the match because he was winning relatively convincingly going into that. And then was he pinned? He might have been. It was. I'm not like, oh my God, he was so pinned. The ref was so stupid to miss it. I'm like, if the ref would have slapped the mat, I'm like, yeah, I see it. That's kind of how I feel. What do you feel?
I feel similarly. I think there was plenty of time. I thought the ref was in position. I think you can screenshot this thing all day and say he was pinned.
So you think he was?
I think I'm with you where it could have. I would have not been surprised or upset if they had called the pin. And I'm not. Listen, in that moment, there's not many refs that are going to call that pin on that guy, that team
with
in
that
that
amount
scenario.
of time.
You just don't. The situations shouldn't matter, but they do. We see it with stalling. We see it with. You see it with matches like that, and I think regardless of the result, and it would have been obviously it's easy for me to say is I don't have a dog in either fight. And for NC State, it would have won them the duel, but the bigger story out of that match is like what Ryan Jack was able to do, what he maybe revealed about how you finish on Jaden Ironman, how he was able to get the legs consistently. And that's always been something you see with Jaden. Guys can get in, but the finishing is where he goes to work. And I thought he had some really, they weren't like quick shots blow through him things. It was like get in there, and he had to figure out and work through the finishes, which I think is different and notable and something that you wonder, are people going to watch this with Jade and be like, okay, this is something to try? And Ryan Jack looked so prepared for this match, very well coached, and he did everything but win it. And maybe he did.
Yeah. And I mean, when I'm watching this match live, I'm like, holy crap, is Ryan Jack really that good? Because he was who's number one guy in high school.
Yeah.
And then I had to remember, no, I just watched him yesterday. He got his butt kicked by Alan Hart. Like him versus Alan Hart was 9-3. It wasn't really competitive. He got ridden for a long time. He got taken down multiple times. So when he was that competitive, well, he was beating, right? When he was beating Ironman for the majority of the match, I think that shocked everyone. I don't think we had that as a line, but I think if you guys would have went +6 Ironman, everyone probably would have picked it.
Yes.
Or -6. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So that was obviously a super tense moment in the duel.
Yeah.
And then Tariq Wilson, no Max Murin in this one after he lost the day before. They don't even wrestle Murin the next time. Tariq wins. Controlled match.
I thought Seabrook wrestled him tough because I was kind of expecting a major out of Tariq, and Seabrook wrestled hard.
Seabrook's a tough guy. And then Ed Scott headlocks Caleb Young, which was a huge
rough weekend for Caleb Young.
Rough weekend for Caleb Young, which, when we get to the
Eddie
team
Scott
race,
got jacked up, baby.
He was pumped. Hey, that was a huge, huge pin. And it looked like when he got it initially, it was like, okay, he's not going to get this. And then somehow he was able to roll it through. I mean, and the headlock for Ed is nothing new, right? He's got
headlock Ed Scott.
That's what they've called him for years.
Headlock Ed Scott. There we go.
And he pins it, and he really made this duel really interesting. And then you had Donald Cates wrestle Marinelli.
He wrestled him hard for a minute.
I mean, several minutes, I would say. It was a 7-2. I know it's his teammate, but Bullard teched Cates this year. And
really?
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
So, but I think this was calculated from Pat Pop. I think he saw this materializing this way, that Cates could maybe wrestle Marinelli tough, and he did, and he almost had a takedown.
Didn't he get a takedown in the first?
Or maybe he did. I think
he got a takedown in the first. It was winning 2-1, and then he got crushed. Away. I was so annoyed that Marinelli couldn't finish that wrestling hold the right way. Like, I wasn't even cheering for Iowa. I was kind of indifferent.
What wrestling hold?
The one where he got the damn arm on the back and he kept freaking not being able to pin him. Like, if you get that man's arm there, you just need to crank on him and pin him. It's so easy. Just done. Over. You give me Donald Cates' arm, I'm gonna pin him like 100 out of 100.
So what with like the chin and arm position?
Chin and arm?
Chin and arm? Hey, I'm back.
Well, let's just start with the arm on the back. Just there, because he got there a lot. he got the arm on the back a whole bunch and finished it 0 times.
Yeah.
So I was just getting annoyed. Not even that I'm a big Alex Marinelli fan or anything, but I was just like, I get annoyed when he couldn't make the adjustment. I mean, because maybe the first time Cates is a little more flexible than you anticipated, and you didn't maybe tighten it up quite enough, and boom, he slips out, right? And next time you're like, okay, I remember you were real flexible. I'm gonna tighten this son of a gun up just a little tighter than last time. Pin him. So that was disappointing, especially when your team needs it.
Yes. So then we move up to 74. Hayden 4-2 over Nelson.
Nelson wrestled him tough.
He did. I think we probably would have anticipated a decision there, and that's what happened. Trent, and still no Michael Kimmer.
Hold on. That clip you guys kept posting was so puzzling to me. What did Nelson think the issue was? Do you know what I'm saying?
I have no idea. So that was a weird thing. We didn't post it, but
you didn't. Okay. It was someone posted.
It was like because it was like Nelson
acted
like
stopped wrestling.
Illegal happened to him. Like there was a headgear pull or there was a head, but there was like I watched both his hands. There was nothing on the headgear. They didn't look like a head. I didn't see a singlet thing. I didn't see anything other than a leg attack from Hayden, and
that was really strange.
Seeing Nelson sort of like complain
out
like that, and it was surprising. And it's like, oh, we just missed what happened. Then you watch back, and maybe we missed it all those times, but I didn't see anything that went on there. JD, did you see anything?
No, I don't know.
You didn't see nothing. Okay. So that was strange. Thank you for bringing that up. And then Trent beats Abe. Abe
pissed me off though. Good. I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm whooping you in the picks. But Trent Hadley argued with me about the Twitter thing I posted. Listen, I'm a Trent Hadley fan. Trent, don't get mad at me.
He wasn't mad. I thought he had a very measured response, Ben.
Yeah, he said, he accused Jair McCann of 2 penalties, a cutback and a locked hands. And listen,
he did.
You can't lock hands if you're on your back, Christian.
If you're on top, you can't lock your hands.
If they're on their back, it's called a pinning combination. It's impossible to lock your hands if they're on their back.
But you could see he had almost looked like a little.
No. So I'm saying it's you can't get a locked hands penalty. It's impossible to get locked hands if they're on their back because it's legal to lock hands when they're on their back.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yes. So people they're not smart enough to figure out what. No. He went from neutral or standing to directly into danger. Therefore, the locked hands can continue because he's in a pinning fall.
Yes.
Okay, but I was mad at Trent Hadley because the line was 6.5. Great line, JD. And my man didn't get a takedown the whole period. I would be winning further. Just go get that last takedown. Put yourself up by 7 or 8 or get a stall call. Get something. Listen, the line was 6.5 and he won by 6. I was really disappointed.
So Ben has, I think, 3 times referenced the lead he has on us in the picks. Ben has 28. Correct. I have 27.
Crushing you.
Listen, I thought this was the guy that was all about dominance, all about dominating his opponents and put them away. You're up 28-27, Ben. You're not going to win the Hodge for wrestling picks. I can tell you that right now.
I'm kicking Tyler's butt. He's under 500. JD's almost under 500.
Not 500.
Hey, can I nominate something? I know we need official. Can I make a comment here?
Official nomination.
Okay, I feel as though if JD's making a line, and this one actually benefited me. I think I benefited once and lost once. If the score is tied going into overtime, it should be like a 0, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it should be 0, and then whoever wins. Like you shouldn't be able to score 6 points in overtime like Josh Edmond did to win me that match. You should be able to do that. You won
best
by 0
cover of all time.
Regulation, it was freaking tied.
Yeah, that actually, that's the only reason I'm not beating you right now, Ben, is because of that. Because of your rule that you just made is the only reason you're actually beating me. So I wouldn't change it. I think it's great. It's like in the NFL, the line's at 3 and it goes to overtime and a guy gets a touchdown. It's like those are the breaks. The points are the points.
Hashem, the 2.5 point favorite goes into overtime, somehow covers. What a legend.
Yeah, that was pretty legendary. So Trent did not cover for Ben. I thought Abe battled hard, but he's outmatched there against Trent.
Yes.
And then Warner is kind of the hero against Trumbull. Trumbull's looked good. Trumbull was super competitive.
He didn't cover.
Match.
He's a loser.
But he didn't cover. But listen, the other thing here is like Trumbull, man, Jacob Warner's best moves to go behind. Make him win some other way. Make him win another way. You can't give the guy a go behind. That's his best move.
I couldn't believe when he airmailed that shot from from half a mat away. It's like that's the only piece of advice I would give him in that third period is don't take. I mean, everyone says don't take a bad shot, but like you need to at least be close, or you at least need to know, like, man, I've got to be pretty sure of it. And it's easy for me to say, but it did seem like the one thing I did like is that he didn't wait until like 10 seconds or 30 seconds to go. He gave himself time, whereas if he did give up the takedown, he had time to get away and work for it. But it didn't work out. But I think for Trumbull, you take that and you kind of like, knock yourself on the head and be like, okay, well, I'll learn from that and not make that mistake again.
Okay, but then I do have a complaint at heavyweight. The fact that they stopped this power half, it's an absurdity. I hate potentially dangerous, and I especially hate like single leg shin wizard potentially dangerous. But this might be the worst because listen, the ref should be going, "Hey, bottom guy, roll over." Like if you just turn to your left, it ain't gonna hurt. I mean, like it's really simple. And the guy on top, what's his name? Treffin, NC State heavyweight.
Owen.
This was Tyree Houghton. This is like
sorry, it was Houghton. Yeah. Yes, correct. It was Houghton. Yeah. He was taking it so slow. He was doing all the right things. He had Cassiope in a lot of trouble. He had him in a lot of trouble, and the ref bailed Cassiope out, and that was not cool by the ref. Like he was taking it slow. Let this man work. If his shoulder hurts, he can just turn.
Yeah,
that's simple.
It's an abomination to call.
That's a great word, Christian.
You can't call halves cannot be illegal. You cannot listen. I get
cannot be illegal at the college level.
They just can't. And you could say, oh, I didn't call it illegal, but you are saying halves are. Yeah. You are saying halves cannot be used to turn people in certain situations. That just cannot be the case.
Yes, because when that call happens, it is just further reinforced. If I just don't turn, the ref will save me. If I just stay here, the ref is going to at some point stop it. So all I need to do is lay here. That is crap. That is total bull crap.
Terrible, terrible call. Terrible call. I couldn't believe it when it happened. It was some freaking Buffalo Gap High School officiating calling that there. I mean, and I'm like, and I kind of went. I had a back and forth about potentially dangerous on Twitter. Like, I think it could be eliminated almost entirely. And I
agree completely.
There are some. I mean, I get sick of. I get as like kind of squeamish and nervous in some of these leg entanglements that when guys are on legs and they're scrambling and diving over, like how Real Buto tore his ACL. Like when they do that crap, I'm like, man, that's insane.
But you couldn't even have called the Real Buto one because it literally happened as he dove back.
He jumped and did it.
There's literally no way you could have even stopped that in time.
So my thing is like so many of those potentially dangerous situations are created by the guy putting himself in danger
because they're actually looking for the PD call.
Yes, they are.
If they knew it wasn't coming, they'd be so much less likely to put themselves in a very vulnerable position. And so to your point, like especially at lower levels, they absolutely need it because these kids don't know what the hell they're doing. But at high level college wrestling, man, most of the time you know how to protect yourself. Like every once in a while, they maybe need to step in there, but like probably 10% as much as it happens.
Yes, and Cassiope wasn't angling for potentially dangerous. He was just trying to not get pinned, and the ref just totally bailed him out. And then Cassiope gets up and went. But man, I thought that Houghton looked good.
Houghton
I hadn't watched a lot of him previously, but that would have been insane if he could have taken him over. And the Hawkeye Report is split on this tone. Some of them are like, it's time to put him back on full feed, get him big again.
Clearly not eating enough corn.
Yeah. So I listen, he's the size he's going to be, at least for this season. You're not going to put on 15, 20 pounds. So we'll see. And, I can't wait to see him versus Kirkleet. I think it's going to be a fantastic match. I wish we could have seen Kirkleet versus Schultz.
That was annoying.
I know we will see Schultz versus Paris, though, on January 3rd. That will not be annoying.
Yeah. So just quick Arizona Penn State. We kind of talked about the day before, but there weren't a lot of matches there weren't in the balance. Bartlett.
Give the credit.
Bartlett got it done against Kyle Parko. I didn't see it coming, but he did. It was in overtime, and Penn State won all the matches they should. Arizona State won all the matches they should, and I think that's all you got to say about that.
Yes, that was a solid win for Bartlett. You could kind of sense it was trending that way. Once they got to overtime, I was like, this is kind of like this is what Bo's looking for. He wants a one takedown type of match against a guy who's probably a little bit better. Max Dean continues to be. He's going to score so many points at NCAAs. It's gun to your head right now. Who wins NCAAs, Ben?
At 97?
Team, sorry.
Oh, 97 is probably Ferrari. It's in my head.
Yeah, sorry.
Dude, I've been thinking Michigan. I mean, listen, we talked about it after the first day. Penn State and Iowa look vulnerable. They still look vulnerable to me. I mean, Penn State looked good, but I feel the same way. There was no opinions about Penn State that changed for me on day two. Iowa feels as vulnerable as they did on day one. I can't wait to see how Michigan looks, because here's how I feel about Michigan without going too in depth. Suriano's going to place high. Ragusin is an outside contender, 41. Micic is probably top 4, right? So I got 2 top 4s already. 49, Storrs probably unlikely to place, win a few matches. Luan could maybe sneak into low AA range, but probably not placing that high. Cam Amin could be a low AA. And then 74, Massa, I would think should AA, but has performed worse. But then 84, Amin's going to be a top 4. 97, Brucky's probably going to place high, and Paris is probably going to place really high. So I think, in my opinion, they have 4 guys who are going to place really high, and they got a bunch of the other ones that could sneak in there. Man, let's see how the season plays out for them. I'm very interested in seeing Michigan. I'd probably still go Iowa if I had to pick right now, but I would be very nervous about my pick.
Man, I'm getting more nervous. And you say the questions for Iowa are the same. I think it's different, man. I think you said since day one, kind of the same vulnerabilities. I disagree.
So sorry. So I guess I'm not going back to like last year, because I think if 2 years ago, Christian, you would say they're going to have remember 2 years ago how good this squad looked, and you said they're going to have the same team in 2021, 2022 season. I said, well, they're going to freaking kill everyone. It's not going to be competitive. Yeah. But there's been a lot of regression, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, maybe it's regression, but for me, it's Kimmer's out, and we haven't seen him yet this year. I didn't anticipate that coming in November 1st. I didn't think we would be going to the new year and not seeing Michael Kimmer wrestle a match. Mm-hmm. I think you're not seeing. I mean, Caleb Young goes 1-2, I think, on the weekend, losing to Ed Scott and Josh Humphrey. These are not guys that anyone's picking in the top 4 right now, or top, probably even the place, right? They could, but it would be unlikely. They're 184, where we thought, Nelson could be a good guy, or Abasad. They haven't shown that they're going to score meaningful points there. So I think Penn State's good guys have just looked good, and while they have more holes for sure, that is becoming less and less of a liability as Iowa
can't score points at all 10 weights.
Yeah, they're not going to score. I mean, is Max Murin going to score big points at NCAAs? Is Caleb Young? Is 184? So there's 3 weights where they're not looking.
But then, so even like when I say regression, think about like Jaden Ironman. Like, if I told you Jaden Ironman had 1-point matches with Dresden Simon and Ryan Jack, you would be like shocked. I'm pretty sure about it. And he went to the collegiate duels and didn't get 1 bonus. I mean, remember how hard he was bonusing last year? I feel like he was kind of bonusing everyone but the very best guys. Maybe I'm misremembering. Well, let me look.
No, he was dominant, and he kind of beat Nick Leake sort of soundly at Big Tens, if I remember.
He's got a whole bunch of pins last year. So I guess the only one that was not, so he made non-major Chad Red twice, but Chad Red's really good.
Yeah.
And then Cole Matthews was the only other one that he didn't bonus all season. He pinned Dresden Simon at NCAAs, but pinned Tariq Wilson. So, yeah, I was gonna have to, I don't know, heal up, turn the corner. Something's gonna have to happen for us to feel more confident about them.
Yeah. He's had some crazy ones in the past. Jaden Ironman has, but yeah, it was not his best performance. So I think with the who has more sure things? Does it look? I mean, to me, Roman, Nick, Lee, Starachi, Brooks, Dean is such a tight five.
That's a good five right there.
That I think Penn State may be swinging it for right now in their favor. And if they get Hildebrand, which is like basically a done deal from what I understand.
But I don't know if Hildebrand's going to place that high because 125 is now gotten so much.
I know, but you're just but now you're just it's just like where it was Jacob Campbell or whoever. Now it's someone that is like maybe Abe Assad or Max Murin or Caleb Young, someone that can negate those points potentially, right?
Yeah. I'm really interested to see, I guess, Oklahoma State too. So obviously they do Iowa second semester, but I'm interested to see how they pan out because I feel like we weren't thinking much about them. They obviously have between Dayton and AJ, they have some guys who are probably, I don't want to say guaranteed finalists, but they're going to place really high. And they have a lot of other guys who, like, if you read your crystal ball and you said Master Giovanni All-American, you'd be like, well, okay. Carter Young All-American. All right. I could see that. Plot All-American. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be all that shocked by these things happen. You know, if I said Tony Negron, Jacob Campbell, and Creighton Edsel placed, you're going to be like, wait, really? Come on. How did Cale do that magic? Whereas Oklahoma State and Michigan, even the guys I mentioned on Michigan's team are like, yeah, I could see him. Definitely. I could see him not, but I could see him doing it too.
That to me is like the number one. It's kind of like it's the argument that I think fails more often than not. We've got four of these guys. They're sort of contenders outside. You can talk themselves into a round of 12 or whatever. It so rarely materializes that way. And then
I agree.
Then the difference between having Jacob Campbell and Max Murin is actually as much better as Max Murin is than this guy or that guy. If you only win 2 matches at NCAAs, the difference is
like
almost
no points,
negligible.
But if you can get into, say, who was the one, like, who was Penn State guy that won it for him a few years ago? The one James English, right?
James English, yeah.
I mean, if you can get a pin and get into 7th place, you're talking 7 or 8 points. If you have a couple of those, which I guess that would be a negative towards Michigan because I don't feel as though any of those guys are real big pinners, right? I feel like they're Luan, Storr, Ragusin, they're kind of decision guys. So that'd be negative. So yeah, I'd probably go Iowa. You make a very compelling argument for Penn State. I feel pretty strongly about them because they're struggling at the 3 weights, but even Kirkland, I don't feel like he's going to be a finalist, but if you want to tell me, I feel very strongly he's going to All-American. And
I agree.
Yeah. So that would be their 6th, and then Hildebrand, if that happens, that would be. I don't feel as strongly about Hildebrand as I do Kirkland, but I think he's got a solid chance.
Yes. So Midlands was canceled. We thought we'd see some teams there. There were a number of, I think there were just 2 tournaments that came in and filled the void there to make up for the lack of a tournament. There's the big ones in Illinois, I guess, in the same general location.
I thought it was in the same venue.
Stop. No way. It's not going to be in the same venue.
I thought it was.
Well,
it's in Hoffman Estates, and the first tournament was also in Hoffman Estates. Damn it. I'll look it up.
That would be just all time.
Being held at the Now Arena. The Matt Mann Open is.
What was the last one?
Now Arena. I don't know.
I'll look it up because it could have changed names. It definitely has not previously been called the Now Arena, but you know how that stuff changes arena names.
You know how it is.
Okay. I'm looking it up,
dude. I think that it is where.
Dude, that's the same place. That is absolutely the same place. It's being held at the same arena. That for sure is.
That is just all time. I mean, it was one thing that it was that they canceled it or whatever, and that there was another tournament taking its place. But that the fact that they're having it in the same place with almost, the big team they're not having is Iowa. But with a lot of the teams there, it's just like
Iowa's not there.
It just points to the absurdity. How about this? Northwestern or whoever, Midlands, just stop with the tournament. Just let someone else fill in the void there and do it. That's gonna not cancel it in the 9th hour and jam up all these.
Midland. I don't listen. It sucks because I love Matt Storniolo, but I'm sure it was kind of the people above him making those decisions.
I don't know. Hey, man, remember Matt said when we did our thing, the Dake Chamizo thing, he said we should not have it. He tweeted out there, "This is reckless. This is dangerous. What's going on?"
I don't recall.
Yes. Yeah, the tweet's still up.
Oh, so that's unfortunate. Okay, listen, I love Matt Storniolo, but I'll just say this, even despite the fact that I like him. If it was Matt Storniolo or whomever from Northwestern made the decision to cancel it, they should never host a tournament again. The Midlands should be over. Let's effing do something else. They don't deserve to have it back.
Yeah.
In defense of Northwestern, the university, I'm guessing maybe the university was probably we gain X financial from this versus being attached to if all these teams break out after.
That's cowardice.
Well, it doesn't make sense because they're having a triangle and they're having a basketball game.
The Northwestern administration doesn't care about athletics.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have canceled. I'm not saying, I'm just playing devil's advocate and saying to them it's not absurd, and I understand why it was canceled.
And it won't be the same thing, but credit to the organizers for putting something together.
Good job.
Izzy style. It's cool. I'm glad it's happening. Because it's a big. This is for a lot of teams. This is the date on the schedule for the regular season, especially. You have Big Ten duels and Big Tens if you're in the Big Ten, but for somebody, this is it's where you determine starters. This is where where guys break out, and to have that potentially just ripped from you, could have had a real impact.
Northwestern has canceled their December 30th. It's really strange. They canceled the December 18th game. They played a December 20th game. They've canceled their December 30th game, but then they have two big. They're hosting two Big Ten matchups, January 2nd and January 5th versus Michigan State and Penn State. So it'll be interesting to see what the athletic department chooses to do with those.
So this is basketball?
Basketball, correct.
Got it. But but Northwestern's having a tri-meet the 29th, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So that's happening, and then there's the Illinois Matmen, and then there's the Hawkeye Open, which I don't know who is coming. It looks like Iowa. You've got the list here, JD. Arizona State, South Dakota State, and Minnesota State, Mankato.
Yeah, that was what was on the release that I think iWrestle put out.
That's not ideal. That's not going to be a very good tournament.
I wonder if Iowa should have just went to the new fake Midlands for their purposes.
Go to the Batman Open, Iowa. Let's go.
Yeah. So also coming up, and want to mention this, we're going to be doing a special Monday show next week for the Arizona State. JD and I will be on location. We'll be on location in the JW Marriott for where we're going to be having the duel between Arizona State and Michigan. It's going to be really fun. And looking forward to that. Just want to let you guys know that. Before we transition to anything else, let's talk a little Southern Scuffle.
Do we want to? I made a couple potential Matman lines, just 3. Do we want to hit those quick before moving on to Scuffle?
Definitely do. Tee them up for us.
All right. Who knows exactly who else going from every team, but a couple potential matches that interested me. 165 Evan Wick versus Dean Hamidi Jr.
What'd you set the line at?
Wick 5.5.
This one. I saw this line. It's very interesting because it all comes down to something we haven't seen yet, which is how good is Hamidi on bottom? Because if he's not very good, it's going to get real ugly real fast. It's going to be way more than 5.5. And I'm probably going to bet on that because it just, Evan's going to wrestle a hard pace. And if guys are good on bottom, they can kind of usually keep it close. But if they're not good on bottom, that starts snowballing really fast. And we have not seen Dean Hamidi on bottom against someone really high level at this point.
I love DJ Hamidi. I think he is so awesome. I think he's gonna be a multiple All-American, potentially national champion before it's all done. But I think how hard he wrestles is actually gonna be a detriment to him. I think at some point one of the exchanges goes badly for him. I think he's gonna be underneath multiple times. I think he's maybe gonna give up a counter takedown. I think the length and the defense, I mean, just how good Evan looked at Cliff King Las Vegas, a freshman.
Only beat Val Park 4-2.
Yes.
But the ballpark was really good on top, and specifically with the leg ride. So,
Yeah, he was that one he wrote him out the entire third period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that was at Vegas,
That guy
right?
chose top.
Yeah. Park rode Wick out the entire third, I think.
So yeah, that's a fair point, fair counter to the. So I assume you'll take committee, but I'll take Wick to cover your
I'll
line,
take
which
Wick.
I think
I'm
is
taking Wick.
Oh, you're not going to be able to catch up with us that way, JD. You got to have some different predictions.
I'm not
buddy.
down that much. We have all season.
Oh, listen, if Ben is killing me, then you're DOA. I mean, it's over.
DOA.
All right, next one.
Bernie Truax Jr. versus the Paz. I set the line at Poznansky, a 2.5-point favorite.
Why is Paz the favorite in this one? I was curious. Maybe I should have had the wrestle.
Paz is good.
Paz is good, but also
Paz,
Bernie. I think we haven't seen a ton of Bernie. Also,
At 84.
Bernie at a new weight.
Plus, I'm not wrestling.
I think that's about right. I think Paz should be the favorite in this scenario.
Fair.
Let me.
I'm going Truex.
They both took fourth last year, but Paz it this way.
Yeah, and I think 84 was. Well, I don't know if it was tougher. Both weights were really good.
I think it was a little tougher last year.
So Paz is undefeated this year. He's kind of been kicking necks in for the most part. He did have a 5-2 over Ryan Weinzen.
Ranked person is a 43rd.
It's still a good sign. You should beat those guys, and he's beating them.
I'm rolling with Paz.
To cover 2.5, though, that's what
cover 2.5 is a big one.
That's what for me. I'll take the points with Truax. And he could lose. Paz could win 6-4, and I win.
Yep.
And I don't know.
Math.
Listen, I'm just laying it out for those at home. I'm not that mathy, so when I figure it out, I like to let the other people that are bad at math know too. Ben, who are you taking?
I said Truax.
Okay. Well, we are one further ahead of JD.
That's where I catch you.
Do you have one more?
One more. Luke Stout versus Braxton Amos.
This is a weirdo. Why are we picking on this match? I don't even know who Luke Stout is.
The Princeton guy?
Freshman at Princeton.
And
it's interesting because, I wanted a Braxton Amos line in there, kind of.
Luke Stout is currently ranked number 28 on WrestleStat.
He's pretty good, man. You're gonna
lost to Deep Rez and Woodley.
You're gonna know this name. You should.
Okay.
Still made Amos the favorite.
Gavin
although
Hoffman.
Luke Stout's probably ranked higher, like on WrestleStat.
Look at this guy. Look at that guy.
What are you showing me? Hold on. Sorry, I'm looking at his WrestleStat. Oh, look at this guy. He got some big muscles.
Look at his biceps. The problem. Then you couldn't.
I'll go Amos.
Yeah, I'm still going Amos though.
Is it a pick'em or what's the
Amos 1.5?
Yeah, I'll probably pick Braxton in almost everything, so I'll pick him. I think he'll do it.
All right, that was it for.
That's a fun match. I'm excited for. You know what? Ben kind of poo-pooed it. Ben knows a lot of random wrestlers. I can't believe he doesn't know Luke Stout. It's basically, if they don't wrestle an AWA guy, he doesn't know them in high school.
So Luke Stout, Luke Stout's probably like a guy that played football, so he probably didn't wrestle a lot in the off season or something to that effect. So,
was he a Penn State commit that changed, or his brother went to Penn State?
His brother, Mac.
Nice.
He doesn't even have a track wrestling profile. I tried searching it; it doesn't come up. Very unfortunate.
Maybe he has an alias, Ben.
Stop.
Who
was it that would change? They changed their name this year, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Joel Devine.
Joel Devine. Yes, it was Joel Shapiro.
Oh yeah. That does throw you off. All right. let's talk Southern Scuffle. It's the best way to bring in the new year. I am regrettably, for the first time in my Flow career, not going to be at the Southern Scuffle. Very
Really?
sad.
Jeez.
But I got to be at the January 3rd thing. I got to be doing FRL with my buddy JD and then calling the match. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I nuked it up. So let's talk 165.
That's 1 day after. Boom.
Big math. Ben Askren. And so we got Shane Griffith. Listen to 165. This is price of admission. Shane Griffith, Keegan O'Toole, Luke Weber, Julian Ramirez, Peyton Hall, among others. And Alex Facundo for Penn State fans out there. Very excited. I like Peyton Hall a lot, and that's a little Bracky bias, but I think he's looked really good this year. He's been killing pretty much everyone he's wrestled. But it's Keegan versus Shane. That's the match we want to see. National champion versus Keegan, who we all think can win it. Talk about this match for Keegan, Ben.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I'm kind of surprised as to where JD put the line, which is -2.5 for O'Toole, which that makes me a little bit nervous. You know, he's got to win by.
Well, it's because I figured
3.
we're a very pro Keegan podcast. If I made it a pick 'em, we'd probably all go Keegan.
Okay,
so you got to give
fair.
him some points.
I got to work
Vegas,
out with him.
baby.
It was so much fun. He's doing some really tremendous things. He's doing some really tremendous things on the mat. You know, we haven't really got to see him in a competitive match yet this year. It's more like, can this dude not get bonused is kind of what has been. And listen, that's not all these dudes aren't terrible. So when I'm talking, that's number 21 Dalton Bullard, 28 Brian Meyer, Clayton Ulrich, who's not terrible. He obviously pinned Luke Weber. So that's kind of been the story of his season. So obviously, I think really highly of him. I think he's going to win. I think he's probably going to win by 3 or more. But yes, Griffith is tricky in some of those scrambles. So there's a little bit of vulnerability there.
So 2.5 for Keegan.
My thought process was even at a 1.5, probably all of us would still maybe take Keegan.
No, I don't know what I do. You made it too tasty for me to not take Griffith at 2 points. I mean, sudden victory takedown, and I still Keegan wins and
6-4, as we know.
6-4. That's right.
So I'm going Griffith too.
Okay, so you jacked up the line for Keegan just so he could take it. I see what he's doing.
That's how Vegas works, baby.
JD's getting desperate here, but I like it. It's good line making. Okay, did you do any other lines here?
I did one for every weight.
So many.
Some of them it's just pick the champ. Some of them it's top seed versus
freaking
field.
sucks because, dude, with the corona, some of these dudes might not show up. It's not ideal.
I know, yeah.
If any of our picks, I do think this. If any
It
of
will
our
be
picks,
void if any of our picks.
the whole weight has to be void.
Yes, correct.
Oh, if so, whoever we pick doesn't show up.
Yeah, like if I pick Keegan to win, and you guys pick Griffith to win, and Keegan doesn't wrestle, the 165 is not.
You don't get credit for a Griffith.
Okay, I that's fair. Let's do that. That seems better.
Peyton Hall's 13-0 on the season, guys.
Peyton Hall's
No,
season.
Bracky's not texting me. Okay. Next up, but you just take this away, JD.
Well,
I don't see wherever the lines are or whatever. I don't see them, so you just go.
The week 7 tab.
You gotta click on the button, dog.
Oh, I gotta be in Excel. Got it. I'm in the doc.
Google
I
Sheets.
thought can you ask Bracky? I thought Killian Cardinal was bumping up. Didn't someone say that?
I don't think so.
I never heard that. He's wrestled at 125 this year now.
Okay.
And entered at 125.
Yeah. All right. Keep her moving.
All right. Do we just want to start at 125 and make our way down?
That works. Yeah.
All right. 125, kind of a fun little weight. At the top, it's Killian Cardinale. Pat McKee will be there. Noah Certain. Joe Manchio from Columbia. No veto for Cornell. I think Greg D will be there.
Okay.
I'm actually
Reese Whitcraft coming down.
The line's McKee -3.5 against Cardinale. I'm gonna pick Cardinale under that.
McKee is so tough. Like
so tough to gamble on.
Yes, because like
I'm going
he could tech card. Are you? I'm going Cardinal too.
Even better.
It's yeah. You hate whatever side you are on this bet when you're watching this match. Even into the second period, you're not going to know what's going to happen.
Oh no, not
That
till the
makes it
final whistle.
crazy. That's the best part. That's why we love the sport. Okay, next up is 133 champ. Now, who are the contenders here?
Rayvon Foley, Chance Rich,
Not a very good weight class, honestly.
Jake Leva, Jackson Desario, Trombley,
Man,
Sean Jay-Z Carter.
Yeah. I'll go with
Hova.
Chance Rich. Rayvon has been struggling this year, and this is not a very good weight class.
I'll go Rayvon with zero certainty.
Okay, I'll go Rich.
This match, I'm so glad that we could see this match again here at 141. A potential Clay Carlson, Andrew Ramirez match. That was maybe one of my favorite matches of NCAA so far this year. You said Carlson versus the field. Wow.
Really?
That is a lot of respect
You
for
said
Clay
that?
Carlson.
Okay, well,
Well, I'm taking the field, bro, for sure.
Yeah, well, when it's not like Andrew Lears isn't a shoo-in by any means to the finals. I feel like Clay Carlson was probably a clear favorite. Maybe not with Real Woods
the
in
number
there.
four, the number 4 seed here would be number 4 and 5 are Alan Hart and Real Woods. Those guys can compete with Clay Carlson. So
Absolutely.
he's gonna have 2 tough matches. I'm taking the field.
Field all day.
Yeah, field. Maybe I should have just made that one a pick a champ, but
yeah,
I don't want us
Let's
to
do
all.
that. No, let's do that. Let's do pick a champ.
No,
I
come
think
on. I want an easy win here, Christian.
It's not a win. We're all picking the same thing.
Are you what's JD picking?
I would have gone field too.
See?
All right, I'll go Alvarez.
Man, I picked him so much to win things, and it hasn't happened.
It has not happened yet.
One more time. I'm going. I'm doing it. Alvarez.
Who you going, JD?
I'll stick with Carlson.
Okay.
Good pick.
He put the T in there. That's cool. Cody Chittum. Can he place in the top 4? Is the question.
This is hard because again, if people don't show up, I think the answer is yes. But if who shows up is supposed to show up.
Come on, man. No. This is if he can. That's a very real question. There's a lot. 149 is fairly deep with.
So
dudes.
like, I think if Cody Chittum were wrestling at the Division I level right now, if say the WrestleStat ranks them, whoever's in the weight class, they just rank them based on the wins and losses. I think he'd probably be somewhere between like a 30 and 60 guy. Kind of. I know it's a wide range, but that's kind of like how I think about it. So if the 4 really good guys show up, who are in this weight class, who are let me read it for you.
Abbas.
Jaden Abbas, Milner, Fine Silver, Ed Sherman. Even I'll say Edmund, he's probably not going to beat them dudes, but there's some of these guys he might beat. Like I can see him beating, say,
this one's not void if there's like an injury default or something.
Yeah.
No, this one's just.
So listen to this though, guys, because here's the guys that are not on that list you're looking at right now, Ben.
No, I'm looking at the full. I'm looking at the
Omania, Victor Voinovich,
Mastro,
Mastro,
Ben Alanis, Joe Bianchi. It's not Jaden Enriquez. I'm also gonna say not top 4. It's just there's 10, 12 like legit, really tough dudes.
Yeah.
And I like Chittum a lot. I think he's a fantastic.
I really want him to pick in the top 4.
Do it. Don't be scared, homie.
I'm so scared.
0 here. You are so scared. All right.
I'm saying no, though.
Okay.
I would not be shocked.
I would not be shocked. I think he's got the ability. Thing is, when's the last time he wrestled? And probably you're gonna say like last week, and I missed it. Pan Am's
a couple weeks ago, but like I don't think he hit anybody because was Junior Pan Am's.
Yeah,
not very deep.
No, not super deep. Shout out Kyle Russell. He was a He was a Pan Am champion back in the day.
That was the senior level. That wasn't even the junior level.
I know. It's even more impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up. I like this line. Austin O'Connor versus Brayton Lee. JD has Connor as a 1.5 point favorite. What say you, Ben?
I say Austin O'Connor.
I do too. I agree. I think it's a takedown or two match. He could ride.
He probably ride for a little bit is the other thing I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say Brayton covers just to be different. You know, like
I can see Brayton covering for sure, but yeah.
6'5", I win.
Yep.
Yes, that is right. You mathed that correctly. So we got Ben and I have Austin covering a 1.5. Different yes. JD has Brayton Lee. 174 champ. We're just picking the champ here. And the contenders. Where did my
Fine Silver, Foca, DeVos, O'Malley, Mako.
I'm going Mako. Upset, baby. Talked about some strategy when he was home for Christmas. Talked about a couple moves. Go upset Mako.
Which moves?
Don't worry about
it.
I'm going Foca. He's got to be like, dude, I should have beat the national champ, or I couldn't get off the bottom. I'm gonna be real fired up.
Fine Silver's not a tough out. I think he maybe has the ability to beat Foca, but I'll go Foca as well.
Nice. All right. 184. So Johnny Lowe beat Hunter Bolin.
I think we should do a pick 'em on this one too, because I could see Kent or Malshewski pulling an upset too.
Okay, Ben's got Malshewski. I got Bolin in this one.
Are we gonna do a pick 'em? Or are we because he has it as Lowe versus Bolin?
I say.
Well, if we do a pick 'em,
I think it should be a pick 'em.
Okay.
Just pick your champ. I've got Hunter Bolin.
And the snip snap.
No snip snap for me.
But for him,
I guess I'm an idiot for being this because I'm gonna pick John Lowe. I really liked him at the duels.
He's long and strong.
Down to get it on.
Friction. All right.
That's Baby Got Back, Christian, if you don't know that song.
Oh, I know that song. Okay.
He was Lowe's good. He's not going to compete with the very best guys. He got kind of hammered by Brooks, but he wrestled hard against Parker. I mean, it wasn't a blowout. It was 6-2, and he's got wins over Samuelson and Darian Roberts. So he's done some solid things.
There you go. Love solid things. 197. Rocky Elam, Owen Pence, Jacob Cardenas, Alan Clothier, among others. Yeah. Feels like the pick. I've got Rocky winning this. Elam's gonna go back. Yeah, he needs a bounce back. He did not have his strongest showing at the duels.
He lost to Trumbull's good. I mean, Trumbull is. I know he lost to Jacob Warner, and you guys just pointed that result, but Trumbull's going to be competing for All-American this year for sure, and he was a tough matchup for Rocky. And I think maybe next year, next time they match up, maybe Elam doesn't pick bottom and get ridden out, and that could be a factor.
I may be doing a flip flop here because there's some key names that weren't named here. Well, you've got Michael Beard has entered the chat. He's entered. He's an All-American. Now Rocky beat him 5-0 last year. Don't think I forgot about that. There's also Cam Caffey's in there. There's one other tough guy in there. Tanner Sloan is also in there. Michael Foy. This is a pretty tough weight. Okay, I'm still sticking with Rocky, but I think we need those names needed to be said. Oh, you know who else is there?
Who?
Andy Smith.
Oh, for God's sake, legend. Stop.
Don't you? Listen, one day you're going to see.
Wait, is Cody Howard Dakota Howard? Or are they related or something?
Yes, they're the same person. That's how related they are.
Why does he have two different names?
It happens. Sometimes you're Benjamin, sometimes you're Ben.
No, I'm always Ben.
I don't know, man.
Hey,
Okay.
the Stammet brothers
I'm
are
going
also in
Elam
this
as well.
bracket together. Maybe we'll see them match up again.
They wrestle at CKLV.
I know.
You love to see it.
I love to see it.
You wrestled your brother, sort of. It was a fake match.
That was a real match.
Come on.
I mean, it wasn't in a tournament or anything. We freaking wrestled.
Yeah, y'all wrestled, but you were very much like
No, we wrestled, bro.
it was an exhibition in nature, though. You're like, let's show some of our stuff.
Dude, we wrestled. That's how we wrestle. I'm not like I ain't messing with you.
All right, I want to watch through that again.
I mean, when people it's like, yes, it almost looks, to your point, it almost looks choreographed, right?
Yes.
But when, say, of the previous 1,000 days, you've wrestled together like 984 of them, and you know every single thing the other person does, it's gonna kind of look like that.
Okay.
Right.
Well, it was very entertaining. Next, heavyweight, the big boys, the heavy Chevys, Zach Elam, Luis Fernandez.
I want to pick Zach Elam, but he's been letting us down.
I know who I want. Well, got a couple fan favorites here. One, Brandon Metz is here.
Stop.
And I love watching him.
Getting electric. 2020 scuffle. 2020.
Yes. Have you watched the West Virginia heavyweight Wolfgram?
I have not.
I like him. I think he's pretty good.
Did Bracky bring in Ali to show him some hand fighting technique?
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to say that, but they did. They did. So his only loss in the year is to Riley Smith. Okay, I'm not picking him to win. Just kidding. But he is doing good.
I'm gonna go Elam. He might break my heart again, but let's go Elam.
Oh, you can't feel good about any heavyweights.
I like Fernandez, but he is.
I'm going Fernandez.
Okay, I like him, but he hasn't been doing as great as maybe we thought he was going to do.
I feel like most of these guys are really similar, so I'll just be a little different and hope I get a win. Who you got, JD?
Go Fernandez.
Okay. So that's the scuffle, January 1st and 2nd, live on Flow. That's a Saturday, Sunday, right? Yes.
I don't know. Days.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, a thing.
Days get weird over the holidays.
Very strange. I'm pretty sure today's Tuesday, but I don't know that for sure.
Today's Tuesday. Yes.
Powerade, a couple.
Hey, we also know it's like guys like Facundo are going to be there.
He'll be there at 65.
If he does well, is he getting thrown into the mix, Christian?
I don't think so.
You got a plan?
Whatever you don't ask. I think probably not. I mean, if he won this thing, yeah, they would wrestle him for sure. I think.
Oh, if he wins it, dude, then he's top 5. Yeah,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
What if he takes 5th?
That's where it gets. I don't think so.
Because if he takes 5th, he beat a couple good dudes. If he takes 5th place, let's see. If he takes 5th place, he's beating like a Peyton Hall, Thomas Bullard, like that. Those are some pretty good wins.
Yeah, maybe you do it then. Maybe if he beats a Hall, or if he gives Keegan or Shane like a real match, and you're like, okay,
I could absolutely see him beating Julian Ramirez.
Okay, we'll have to calculate out his war
match
statistic.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think this would be if Creighton Edsel were here, I would think this is a competition. But I think that he's not. Kind of tells you, I was like, they're pretty well set with Creighton. It's my thought. Who knows anything can happen. It's in Facundo's hands. If he wins it or has a really strong showing, I think he'd force their hand and they would have to insert him. Okay. Powerade notes. When does that start? Is that the 29th and 30th, JD?
Yes.
Okay. So that's going down. A couple huge matches potentially. We could have Nick Feldman versus Big Jim Mullen, who won our hearts at the Cadet World Team Trials. He's a beast.
Big Jim Mullen.
We like him a lot. Feldman is a different sort of dude, though. He's a different kind of problem.
Yeah, I can't see him being competitive with Feldman at the high school level right now. He looks so impressive.
no doubt. Then Gabe Arnold versus Rocco Welsh rematch. That was not a very fun match. It was a tiebreaker type of bout where Welsh was in on a takedown in the third and couldn't finish, and then Gabe got the ride out. But we can see the rematch there, and Nick Bouzakis back in the mix. So excited to watch him. A lot of Buckeye recruits for you Ohio State fans to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, that was actually wrong. Powerade early rounds start today, but it goes through the 30th.
Got it.
What? A 3-day high school tournament?
Yeah, I think they had more entries than expected, so they expanded it.
Yeah, look, we're live right now.
Bro, that's wild. A 3-day high school tournament? That's crazy.
That is long. Okay. Question from Santiago Claus. Do you guys think Zahid will go Team Mexico like Anthony did? So if you hadn't heard, Anthony Valencia going to wrestle for Team Mexico. His brother Zahid is very good. Would he do the same?
I don't see why not. Why not, Christian?
Because you want to wrestle for America? Because that's better.
I know you do, but listen, this dude might get a world medal. He's pretty good. He probably can't beat Yazdani, and he probably can't beat David Taylor, but I don't even. He may be the gambling favorite against everybody. Well, probably not the Russian guy. What's his name again?
Karugliev?
No, yeah, but hasn't he beat? He's never lost to Miles Amin, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, he could absolutely. We've said, I mean, going into the '86 Olympics, we were like, how many Americans do we think could have placed or were Olympic medal threats? And he was one of the names. David obviously won it, but Zahid and Brooks and Gabe Dean, on and on and on. Trent Hidley, Miles Amin. There's a lot of Americans that could make noise at 86, and Zahid's one of them. You have to. My thought is that he's not, because if he was, I feel like this would have been a joined. Well, no, just like a joined announcement. Like my brother and I gone through the steps. We're going to be representing Team Mexico. The fact that it's not makes me think that he won't. But should he? I don't know. It depends what do you value making just wrestling at Worlds and having a chance at a medal, or is it more important that you represent America?
So I just looked in their college careers, CP. Zahid is 6-0 against Miles Amin. Yeah.
So, someone like that probably watches the Olympics and is like, man, that could have been me. So, and listen, it's never a bit of confusion on my end why guys do it, right? I'm not. So you can't be surprised when it happens.
I say go. I would say go for it. That would be my.
But I also think someone like
your brother. Let's do it.
One thing with Zahid is he is just not. He's an alpha, and a lot of these guys are. But I feel like he would view that as like, man, I'm sort of being deferential here by saying like I can't beat David Taylor, or I'm worried about Bo Nickel or Aaron Brooks or these guys, and I'm taking these. That's something that could enter his head.
I mean, well, the other thing is I don't even know if you're saying that, Christian, because a little bit you are, but essentially you're also just saying I'm going to go to the World Championships, and I don't even have to worry about. For him, he doesn't have to worry about being on the team. He's going to beat all them dudes 10-0, and so he can then start right because if you're Zahid Valencia right now, you're probably focusing on one thing and one thing only. That's how do I beat David Taylor? That's it. Because unless you can do that, you're not on the team. It doesn't matter if you can beat the Iranian or the Russian or whomever else, because you can't beat David. You're not on the team, so it just doesn't freaking matter. And if you go wrestle for Mexico, you never have to beat David except at the World Championships. So that you can think about how do I beat Miles Amin? How do I beat the Russian? How do I beat, right? You can start thinking about all these things, and you're putting yourself in position to win a bunch of world medals probably because that weight class is not very deep.
Yes. The logic behind it makes sense to me. Question here from Brian Murphy. I don't think it's that Brian Murphy of Michigan fame, at least based on the avatar. But favorite things you've seen wrestlers do that seem to defy physics. For me, Stieber's head wheel finish never made sense. It shouldn't be possible. Also, Jaden's ability to hold on to an ankle when they kick out. He shouldn't be able to hang on.
Man, I saw this question just while we're on the show. And I mean, Jaden does a handful of things that kind of defy reality. I didn't have any really good answers though. I mean, the one guy who I'm fascinated by the way he moves, and I think Maybe he doesn't get credit for it, but there's kind of a lot of technical advancements he made. Is Mavlut Batirov. Some of the things he did were just so amazing, and I don't know if defying gravity is the right.
Spencer shouldn't be as strong as he is.
That's a good one. The way he can pull on everyone's arm. That's like he uses gravity to his advantage, though. He just like
yeah. Like some of those, he doesn't do some overly complicated stuff. It's like, oh, get a wrist, and now you're on your back.
More about that question. Maybe we can talk about it a little more. It's a thought I've had. Mason Paris's dump. I'm always like, how is he hitting these on giants? Like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Be able to do it.
From FRL listener, I finally listened to your advice and started watching The Wire and just finished season 2. Can we get a spoiler alert on any future talks about the show? Which that's a funny question, but there's a funny response to like no spoiler alerts for a 19-year-old show. But in this case, I will grant it because good on you, FRL listener. You have a great Twitter handle. You're watching the greatest show ever, and so we will just say spoiler alert before we talk about anything. On the off chance that we would delve into spoilers for The Wire.
Hey, do you want to? I guess I've seen this now like 5 times on Twitter. What the hell is the? Because I was looking at Kyle Dake's Twitter and it was on there. What's the PD thing? Can we talk about that or not? Did he rip some dudes off?
That's what it looks like.
The less I read about that guy, the better. So I don't really know. I saw the tweets about it, but I don't know anything else.
Okay, I was curious. It looked like so. It appears because then Kerrigan Conan was the old guy that ripped everyone off. So it says someone said Downey versus Conan, and then I was reading through Dake's Twitter, and it appears as though there was some scam running, but I didn't know, so I figured maybe you guys knew.
The thing is, apparently he sold some singlets, got paid, but didn't ship them. And I think Kyle came out and said, "Hey, if this happened to you, I'll send you a singlet of mine."
Nice.
Probably still ripping people off, if I had to guess. Criminal.
Hey, I gotta go, Christian. We're 25 minutes over. I'm out.
Next Monday. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Hey, what time are we going next Monday? Is it normal time? Your volume's going out.
Go. I think it's my AirPods are dying.
Okay.
We gotta go.
Listening. We'll be back next Monday. Scuffle, Powerade, Arizona State, Michigan. Can't wait for it. See you then, guys. Thank you.
See ya.